Hey guys, it's Kaz here at Cats on Camera, and today I'm doing, eventually, my December wrap-up. So in December I read 7 things. So first of all I read A Strong and Sudden Thor by R.W. Day. This one, it's like slight fantasy sci-fi, but mostly, if you take away them elements, it's just like a contemporary. This follows the main character David, who in this world it's like set in the future where this big ice age type thing has happened but nobody knows why. And there's dragons and most of the story is about him and his relationship with Callan, and because of the setting in here it's like being gay is bad because there's the whole religious aspect. You know how every time a natural disaster happens there's them like really religious people that are like, it's because of the gays. Well, that's pretty much what happened in here, so now because of that being gay is a sin. So most of it is about this forbidden love between David and Callan, but woven throughout that, like I say, there's this sort of fantasy sci-fi element. There's a bit of a mystery of what's happening to the town and other towns around it, and yeah, I enjoyed it. It's something a little bit different. Well, like I say, most of the sci-fi and fantasy elements don't really kick in until quite far in. It is, throughout a lot of it, just kind of like a romance. So next of all, I read The Kontiki Expedition by Thor. This is non-fiction about the Kontiki Expedition, of course. Yeah, basically this is the true account of these 6 guys in the 40s that went on a raft from South America to Polynesia to try and prove the migration theory that the islands out in like that area were inhabited by people that were originally from South America. Because before then people didn't believe it because they thought it was too far away and there was no possible way for them to get there. So they were kind of like, hey, back in them days they had rafts made of wood, let's make an exact replica. Don't even use ropes, use hemp ropes, don't use any nails or anything. Just make it exactly like they would have done back in the day, and let's prove it. Let's go across the ocean on a raft for over 100 days with people that can't swim and know nothing about sailing. So yeah, it's an interesting read. It made me look up certain things. As I was reading it, they'd mention certain fish or certain birds, and then I look up them on my phone to see what they look like. So yeah, it was really interesting. And if you've been here a little while, you'll know that I went to the Kontiki Museum in Norway last year, and that's the reason that I picked this up, because it seems so fascinating, and it was. Next up, I finally finished The Walking Dead Compendium 2. I was like a third of the way through this, so I just blitzed the rest of it to get it read in 2017. So this is by Robert Kirkman, Charlie Adlard and Cliff Rathburn, and I'm sure everybody knows what The Walking Dead is about. I'm sure you've seen the TV show. But the comics do kind of take different turns. The characters are different in here. Certain characters are alive in here and dead on the TV, and vice versa. And yeah, it's fun to read this even after you've watched the TV show, because it is different. And it's kind of funny because I was reading this and I got to a certain place in it, and then my mum was rewatching The Walking Dead because she stopped after a few seasons, and the exact bit that I just read she was watching at the same time, so I thought that was pretty interesting. So I could see kind of the similarities and differences in that scene. So yeah, if you've not seen the comic, then it is a black and white comic, to kind of get away from the fact that there's a lot of blood and gore in here. So they were like, hey, we'll make it black and white and then it won't seem as bad. I'm looking forward to reading the rest of these, but luckily now I've read the Compendiums 1 and 2. The rest of the volumes I've got are individual volumes, so it won't seem like such a mission. So next up I read Thanks a Lot, Joan Leclerc by Joanna Parkhurst. So this is a contemporary following Emmett, who is a hockey player, and it follows his sort of relationship aspects with the coach's nephew Dusty, and also his family, because his dad's moved away and he's kind of trying to get back in contact with him and his brother, and it's about whether they want to or not. I did really enjoy the family aspect of this, because not exactly like this, but I feel like I could relate to some of the sort of issues in a certain way. So yeah, I really enjoyed that bit, and then the relationship aspect was cute as well. So, and also I like reading about sports, so the hockey aspect was also good. Well, if the title doesn't make any sense because I said the main character is called Emmett and his boyfriend's Dusty, then throughout this, sort of at the beginning of each chapter, we see these letters that Emmett's been writing to his hockey hero, John LeClaire, so that is why it's called this. Next up, a little bit of a silly one. 101 Reasons I'd Rather Marry My Cat by Catherine Cogshall. This one was a part of my sister's indie advent calendar, so this is an independent author and she got me this for Christmas. When I saw it I thought I should probably get that, but then I thought my sister's probably going to get me that. So yeah, and this is just basically 101 reasons, just a little reason, a couple of pictures in here and stuff. Honestly, I didn't enjoy this as much as I thought I would. I did kind of review it on Goodreads if you care, but there wasn't enough cat-based reasons in here. It was more of a, oh, my cat won't do this thing that a human does, rather than this is a thing that cats do that I like. That probably makes no sense. But for instance, it would be like, oh, he doesn't walk all over the carpet, or he doesn't try and share my baths. And I was like, what? These are not reasons. It was okay, a couple of them made me smile. But stuff like, just a random flick through, he says nothing when I wear my workout clothes all day and never make it to the gym. He entertains my once a month vow to quit chocolate, which lasts less than 24 hours. That's literally got nothing to do with cats. Second to last, I read Trainspotting by Irvine Welsh. This is a book that, at the beginning, I kind of didn't know whether... I knew I enjoyed it, but I didn't know whether I enjoyed it a lot or a little bit or it was okay kind of thing. Because this is told in little sort of snippets of life rather than chapters, which I didn't know whether I was enjoying. But in the end, I did enjoy it. I did give it 4 stars, so... It did take quite a long time to get into it at the beginning because it is written in Scottish, like, phonetically, and it did take a while to... I'm quite a slow reader anyway, but it took me, like, ages to read a page because it was written in Scottish. But I got used to it after a while. The one thing that did annoy me though was whenever we had a perspective from the character Spud, oh my god, he said like say after every few words and it was so annoying. It got to the point where whenever I saw the word like say, I was just skipping it over and not reading it in my head because it was actually pissing me off. Yeah, that really annoyed me, but luckily there wasn't that many bits from his point of view, so it wasn't too bad. Oh yeah, I've not even said anything about what this is about. This is about a bunch of mates who are heroin addicts, and it goes through bits and pieces of their life when they're on heroin, when they're trying to get off it, when they accidentally come back on it again, and just everything surrounding that, the family, the friends, going cold turkey, relationships, dramas, death, diseases. So yeah, if that sounds like something you'd enjoy, then give it a read. And last but not least, I read Dragonfly Fallen by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This is book 2 in the Shadows of the Apt series. This is another one that I started ages ago and then had to finish it because I wanted to go into 2018 with a clear currently reading on Goodreads, which I achieved. So obviously I'm not going to tell you what happens in this book, but the series in general is about all of these different people, these different races that all have sort of something buggish about them. So there'll be the Waspkindin, who can fly, and they have stings that can shoot out of their hands. There's the Mantiskindin, who have big claws that come out of their hands like mantises. But then there are also less fancy ones, like the beetles, who are a bit of a hardy bunch. Antkindin are pretty cool because they can all telepathically speak to each other. Certain kindin can see really well in the dark, like the Mothkindin. And yeah, there's just all these different people, and the wasps are trying to take over the lowlands. This is a cool series though because we do see point of views from some of the bad guys as well, so it's not just like evil for the sake of being evil. We see from their point of view what they're trying to do, what they're trying to achieve, and how sometimes it's not a person being evil, it's just a person taking orders from their boss. Kind of like in wars, like people on the opposite side of a war, they're not bad people, they think they're doing it for their country, or they think they're doing it for their people, or they've been forced into it from having to join the army or whatever. So there is that sort of aspect. And there's also a steampunk aspect through here, because some of the Kindins are really good with machinery and some of them can't handle it at all. Like all of the less fancy bug people, I would say, can build machinery and they make all these fancy contraptions and flying machines and good weapons and stuff. And then you get the others that are the more magical kingdoms, like the spiders and the mantis and the moths, who literally can't even comprehend how to undo a lock. That's how inept they are. So there's that sort of going through as well, which is really cool. So there we go, those were the 7 things I read in December. I really like the fact that I swiped everything off my Goodreads currently reading, because at one point I had like 5 or 6 things that were partly read that I was reading on Goodreads, and I was like, no, get rid of everything, start fresh in 2018, and I managed to do that, so I'm happy. So tell me down below what you read in December, or whether you've read any of these, or whether you want to read them now I've mentioned them. If this is your first video by me and you enjoy it, then please check out some of my others, and if you continue to enjoy them, then please subscribe, that'd be awesome. Anyway guys, I will see you in a few days with another video. Bye. With his boyfriend, who is the hockey player's cousin, who is the hockey player's nephew. Let's start that again, because I'm just saying words that are not true.